I gave this example in the morning. So let's say that someone tells me at the end of the seminar, the person tells me, you know, Pastor, I didn't like this seminar. I think it was very weak, you know, and I think that you said some things that don't make sense. And if I try to defend myself, it's not going to help. That person is going to accuse me more and more, because when you defend yourself, that person want to prove that he is right. But if I say, no, I'm so sorry that you came here, you're expecting to listen to a good message, and you are frustrated. I want you to know that I want to grow, and I want you to help me out. What do you think I could improve? What do you have to tell me? What is missing in my message? So if I do this, I disarm the person. And the person might even say, oh, no, Pastor, no, that's okay, you know. I think it was okay. Just as this or that, you know. It's not too big. But if I get defensive, if I get nervous, you know, if my big ego shows up, the person is going to try that he is right. So that's so interesting, right? And we need to learn how to lose also with our family, our spouse, our children, you know. So another thing is empathy. There are two ways of empathy. One is thought empathy. Thought empathy is when you repeat what the other person says to you with other words. Not using the same words, but with other words. When I repeat what another person said with other words, I show that I'm listening to the other person. I also can check if I understand what the other person said. And she can tell me if I am wrong or right. But another very important thing is that I am not judging, I am not criticizing, I am not giving advice, I am not showing the solution. But then you are going to think, well, Pastor, but giving advice is not something good? Giving the solution isn't something good? Shouldn't we do, especially with our children? But it's interesting that every time you give advice to someone, or maybe not every time, but many times that you give advice to someone, that person feels humiliated. And maybe sometimes you have arguments with people, you don't realize why. So let's say that your spouse comes from work and says, no, I had a lousy day. My boss was really disrespectful. He criticized me in front of everyone. He screamed at me and said that if I keep doing what I'm doing, he's going to fire me. And then you say, you know something? I think that the problem is with you. You need to be more respectful to your boss. You need to do everything your boss asks you, and more than that. Walk the second mile. Try to please your boss. Try to do the best you can. And then I ask you, you would be happy if you were hearing to that advice? You wouldn't be happy. But when you talk to your spouse, you come from work, you are upset, something happened. You talk to your spouse, you tell him or her what happened to you. What are you expecting anyway? You don't want to have an advice. You don't want to have counseling. You don't want to hear the solution. You want to have someone who will empathize with you, who will hear to you. But now let's say that your child comes from school and say, you know, I am really disappointed because I got a bad grade. And then you tell your child, you know, I think that the problem is not you're not studying enough. You need to study more. You need to go to the tutorial center. You need to spend every day 2 hours. You know, when I was your age, I worked harder than you. So I ask you, would your child be there listening to you and at the end say, thank you so much, I love you. I know that you are doing this for my best. No. But then you don't understand because you think, shouldn't he be grateful that I'm giving him an advice, a counseling? Shouldn't he say, thank you? You are such a wonderful parent. You care about me. The problem is that it's so hard for us to understand that even children have an ego. We have. Shouldn't they have? They have an ego as well. So when we touch that ego, they are going to resist. They are going to defend themselves, and they are going to attack us back. And then we have these problems with our children. So you see that this is very complex because then you're going to ask me, but Pastor, if I don't give an advice to my child, if I don't give a counseling, if I don't show the solution, what should I do? I am a parent. What am I supposed to do? And then, this is where thought empathy comes. You ask your child or anyone, you talk, you say with other words. And then you wait for that person, if it is your spouse, if it is your child, to find their way, to find their truth. And then, after you gave them permission to find their truth, then you can come with your idea, but let them find their way first. So the second thing is feeling empathy, and feeling empathy is more important than thought empathy. Thought empathy, you just repeat with other words what the other person said. But feeling empathy, you try to hear the other person's feelings. What is behind that person? So, your son comes from school, and your son got a bad grade. And he talks to you, I got a bad grade. So, you realize that he is frustrated, he is disappointed, he's sad. Now you mention this. Oh, I'm sorry that you got a bad grade. I can see that you are disappointed. You are sad. Talk more about how you are feeling. And keeping going. And you make an inquiry. So you make a question. Why do you make a question? When you make a question, you show to the other person that you want to hear the other person. You are interested in what the other person has to say. And the other person is going to feel heard, listened. So sometimes we cut the other person. We show to the other person that we don't want to hear. Because sometimes it's hard, right?